In here. Long time no here. I don't see or hear anybody at the moment. We'll give it a couple minutes to get people get into the chat. It is the day after a holiday. I took off work today, so I'm out here working on the van. But wanted to share this expansion valve mainly. Um, Basically, if your AC is kind of hit and miss, it works great, then it doesn't. If it's freezing up, getting frost on the lines, that kind of thing, it's most likely going to be your expansion valve. So I did a YouTube search trying to figure out how to get this puppy off, and wasn't real successful. They made it just look real easy, of course, but as you can see, there's a thread in that little hole there, and that was to remove the Freon lines going into that side of the expansion valve. Now this side has a couple holes in it there, as you can see, and it looked a little funky to me because there were no nuts on it. On this side I removed a nut from that center bolt area there where you can see the threads. So I pulled a nut off of that. However, if you look up in here on the opposite side, which I don't have disconnected yet, tough shot. You guys can see the threads right there sticking out. So my first gut instinct was that nuts were missing. There's two of them. I don't know if you can see the other one in the back at the same elevation there. But hey, what up, Chico? Cindy D. Yeah, I took the day off today, so just trying to get some AC repairs done on the van. She went out on me up in Washington last year. I have the rooftop AC, so you know, that works pretty good when I'm parked, and you know, grid power to keep it running constantly. But since I upgraded to lithium, it is doing a lot better than it was. But that requires 120 volts, so I have to run the inverter to, you know, get from 12 volts to 120 volts, and you know, all that stuff is extremely inefficient. So it's nice to have the motor AC going, of course, and it was like record temperature highs up there in Washington last year when I was up there working. So I had all the parts to actually do what I'm doing, but put some Freon in it, recharged it, and it actually went back down, I think, in like a day or two. So I was going to change everything out, but I was crunched for time. Job up there waiting on me. So it says just recharge it again. Maybe the valves are leaking or something like that. So instead of getting into it, which I didn't have the time anyway, so I was kind of crunched for time. So I recharged it. Lo and behold, it lasted about a week driving around the home front. So I said, cool, it's fixed. He was right. So drove it 1,000 miles or so up to Washington, and I think it was good up there for probably about a week, driving back and forth to work. And we were hitting record temperature highs up there. And lo and behold, kaboom, she just took a crap on me one day. But personally, I think it was self-inflicted to some extent. I don't know, but it was just my gut feeling. It was so hot that day when I was working. I just jumped in the van, turned the AC on immediately. And with all this solar stuff hooked up, it also ran to the alternator, going to the motor to help charge the house batteries in the back also. So I honestly think the alternator kicked in to charge the batteries at the same time the compressor kicked in. So lesson learned, don't be so jumpy on the AC unit, turning the AC on when you jump in a hot van. Put the windows down and crank the van up, and let the alternator kick in to get the charge going back to the house batteries, and then turn the AC on. I honestly think it was just both kicking in at the same time and it screwed something up. But who knows, because I was having problems with it before. So, as I said, I had purchased everything to do this job, but was crunched for time. And boy, that compressor is a bugger to get out. It took me majority of all day yesterday to get up in there with every tool I could find, using extensions and universal swivels, you name it, to try to get up in there to get to hard to reach bolts to get it loose. But we conquered that yesterday. I still haven't dropped it out. The free end lines are still hooked to it, but all the bolts are loose. The condenser was actually surprisingly pretty easy. I pulled the grill off and just loosened up the fan and this top plate here. Removed a couple bolts for that and shifted that up. And right here's where our AC lines come in. We got a high pressure hose and a low pressure line hookup. So these the low pressure being the bigger one, goes back to the compressor, and the high pressure line being the smaller one goes up to the dryer. So there's your dryer right there. So that'll be replaced as well, and leaves out of the dryer and goes up the firewall here, excuse me. Right here's where you add your Freon, and that goes up on the firewall to that hard to get expansion valve. It's extremely hard to get to it. So I didn't see any videos on the actual expansion valve removing it, so I just really wanted to share that mainly because it would have been helpful to me. This little bolt was on the one side, so I pulled that loose, and on the same side, but it holds the others, the bolts, or screws rather, hold the opposite side of stuff, but they are on the same side as the bolt. I'll try to get you guys a shot if I can. This is how I was able to see what the heck was going on. Of course, the phone will focus. Too much stuff up in there. Yeah, that's how hard it is to see, guys. Can't even see it with a mirror. I mean, it's a booger. There's one Freon line area. Yeah, I can't get the angle I'm looking for. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. So you can see there's an Allen wrench right there, and there's another one opposite side. So those thread through, and those are the threaded posts on the opposite side that I showed you earlier. So little baby Allen wrench. What happened? I hit something when I dropped my mirror, so we went into settings. So, guys, I just wanted to share this short video. I've got a lot of work to do. We're going to change that dryer out down here by the battery. This, as far as location, is the opposite of the driver's seat. So that's where that expansion valve is located. And the compressor, hooks up to your fan belt. So that'll be just like an alternator with a pulley on it. But that expansion valve was a little tricky. It's a little tough for me to figure that out, and even with a mirror, getting this little baby mirror up in there, I was able to pinpoint what was still holding up the passenger side lines coming into it. So got the driver side lines off, and I was in there with a screwdriver prying, smacking it with these, and I just couldn't get the opposite side off. And I was truly kind of thinking there was a couple nuts that were missing off of those threads. But come to find out, it was a couple Allen screws in there. So I've actually broke them loose. Don't know what size this rascal is, but I would say maybe it's got to be probably an eighth, might be a quarter inch, somewhere in between. Probably a metric Allen, being a European vehicle. So, all right, that's going to sum it up there, guys. We're going to go on a fishing trip June 15th. I'm headed out with the van. We're going to take Lola out on her first camping trip, and I'll be up there for a week. Probably come back a day earlier than a week, because I just hate rushing home and trying to unpack everything and then have to be at work the next day. So a definite 6 days. We'll play that by ear. I've heard reception up there is very horrible, but if I go to the bait shop, I guess they have Wi-Fi, as hearsay. So maybe I'll get a video or two out while I'm up there. If not, maybe I'll just record and upload it like we used to do before I just started doing lives. It just takes so long to upload a video. So lives really work out a lot better for me. I mean, considering, I don't do this for the money. I just do it to share my knowledge and experiences, and hopefully help somebody else out while I'm doing all these things. So yeah, I'm definitely going to enjoy the fishing trip. I'm going to take up fly fishing. I've never done it before, but I used to fish when I was a kid. My father was quite the drinker, so he would like to, set up a lawn chair on the shoreline and cast out there with a worm on it and a sinker, and just sit there and get drunk off his ass all day. So I've been fishing since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. But, I've seen him fish for years and years and years, and myself for years and years and years. And the truth of the matter is, you're lucky to catch one or two while you're out there fishing that way. But I cannot tell you how many times I've watched a fly fisherman just go walking by, and I've been there all day long, and a couple bites here and there, maybe one or two fish all day. And this fly fisherman just walks by, in 30 minutes he catches 2 or 3 fish. I mean, it's a more natural way of fishing, but it is quite involved. It's not as easy as just casting out there with a worm and a sinker and setting back and just relaxing. So it's more hands-on, cast, reel in, and you reel in pretty much by hand instead of a reel until you get a fish on there. And it's just getting your cast down, getting the approach of the fly. So it's kind of natural, where the fly just lands in the water, and the trout just cannot resist. They just got to snap at it. It's just their nature if they think it's a fly out there. So I'm hoping to have some pretty good luck with it. I've bought a bunch of fly fishing gear, and we'll go from there. I got to work on my cast, and got some waders, like suspender type that cover the whole body basically. All kinds of different light weights of lines. All that stuff matters when you're fly fishing. It's really involved. Oh, right on. Yeah, I actually have unvisited property down there in New Mexico. I bought it a long time ago, back when really you would think that it may have been a scam. Actually got it off of eBay of all places, and I can't remember. It wasn't that much. It was under $5,000 if I recall, and I bought it, who knows, probably close to 20 years ago now. It's a 1 acre lot, no utilities, no nothing, out in the middle of nowhere. And I've just sat on it for all these years. I've never even visited the but made payments on it back then. I was definitely poor, so I got it paid off, and everything went through. They sent me the title, what have you. Everything got registered with the town that it's in, and I pay, I think it's $5 a year for the taxes on it. So still not worth anything, but where we are today in the world, I kind of seen way back then. And I just wanted a piece of property, possibly just to have a place to maybe retire to when I get older. If we don't have a medical industry, big pharma, all that stuff is getting worse and worse every year, as we know. And if we have some kind of collapse in the States, or if everything tenfolds in price, it could go either direction. I wanted something closer to the Mexican border, so a guy could just run across the border, grab his prescriptions, and head back home. So I don't know, someday I might put a fifth wheel on it, or maybe a modular home if I truly want to move south in the future, because as we get older, you don't like the cold. So it's more of a higher elevation, a lot like Reno. So that was another reason. Humidity's not bad, so great little spot, and should be a little bit warmer being a lot further south. So they don't make more land, yours is growing in value. Yeah, like I said, I had no intentions really of doing anything with it until maybe when I retire someday. I may use it, may just end up reselling it, or just leaving it to my son when I croak. But it's, I want to say, about 30 minutes south of Albuquerque. So it's a good little spot, not too far away from Mexico. If an old guy needed to run across the border, grab some prescriptions to stay alive. Yuma, yeah, Chico's from Yuma. Too hot down there, Chico. Too hot, brother. Yeah, this is, I always mess it up. It's, I think, Belen is where my property is. I think it's basically spelled like the old lady name Helen, Helen, Helen. That was my grandma's name, actually, but it's a B instead of an H. So I personally would call it Belen, but I think it's actually pronounced